So joining me now is Jesse Lehrich. He's a co-founder of Accountable Tech, a nonprofit advocating for oversight and accountability for big tech. Jesse, thanks so much for coming on the show. What results, real results, might come out of this?
Well, thanks so much for having me. I think it's critically important that Congress is finally focusing on these kinds of content neutral interventions that would add some friction into the system, because for so long the conversation was only about, whether or not things should be censored or left up, and we were ignoring this entire range of sort of manipulative type designs that amplify the most engaging and outrageous content on social media platforms. So I think whether or not this thing has a good chance of becoming law of the land, it's really encouraging to see bipartisan movement in this direction toward the business model and the kinds of interventions that can be taken to prevent the viral spread of misinformation and other harmful content.
What's in it for these lawmakers? For years, we've been hearing lawmakers, regulators, those on Capitol Hill really calling out against big technology, but truly little has been done to actually rein in these platforms. Why should lawmakers be pursuing this?
I mean, exactly for the reason that you just said, that they've been talking for a long time and recognizing the kinds of urgent problems that they need to be addressing as far as social media and its role in poisoning our information ecosystem. And you can say the time for, regulation is now, and there's been a lot of tough talk, but nothing has actually been done, and these problems have continued to metastasize. And so seeing bipartisanship on design-focused issues like this is again, really encouraging and a big step forward from where we were even a couple of years ago, when lawmakers were famously asking Mark Zuckerberg how Facebook makes money if they don't charge for their platform. And he had to say, Senator, we run ads. So again, progress may not be always as fast as we want to see it happen, but we're definitely moving in the right direction here.
And notably, this act does leave out any mention of Section 230, which of course does focus on the liability that these platforms have for content that is actually spread on their particular sites. Section 230 has become extremely controversial in the past years. But does this Nudge Act stand to have a better chance of moving forward? And why leave out some of the issues at play here with Section 230?
Yeah, it's an important question, and I do think it's really good to see Congress coming up with some proposals that aren't focused on Section 230. It has become such a political lightning rod, and even though Democrats and Republicans alike have expressed their misgivings with Section 230 and the sort of sweeping liability shield it grants platforms, I think the truth is Republicans and Democrats want to reform it in diametrically opposing ways and for diametrically opposing reasons. And so I think seeing Democrats and Republicans work together on these kinds of design interventions, which focus not necessarily on liability, but on forcing platforms to implement the kinds of research-based design tweaks that we know would slow the spread of misinformation and other harmful content, instead of going around and around arguing about how to repeal or reform Section 230. I think these are major steps in the right direction, and it shows that there's room for bipartisanship, that if we focus on things other than those political lightning rods.
Do you think that there is bipartisan support for this, the Nudge Act?
I mean, it's a pretty new endeavor, and I think sadly the legislative window is probably coming to a close for this Congress relatively soon as people turn back toward midterms and campaigning. So I don't know what kind of chance this stands of becoming law imminently, but even the fact that that there are these kinds of thoughtful proposals being put forward with bipartisan support, being co-led by a Democrat and a Republican, gives me hope that no matter what happens in the midterms, hopefully we'll continue to have this kind of bipartisanship and serious focus on substantive reforms that actually give some accountability and transparency requirements to these social media platforms that have become the driving force for our information ecosystem in the modern era here.
All right, Jesse Lehrich, co-founder of Accountable Tech. Jesse, we appreciate you taking the time. Thank you.